Hey, what's going on? Welcome back to the Bring the Sink podcast. I'm your host, The Hammer, and we got a good one for you today. Apologies for the delay on the episode release, but I promise you we're going to make up for it. We got a good one. We got the top 10 quarterbacks headed into the 2026 NFL season. And boy, oh boy, does that sound wild to say, 2026 NFL season. But yeah, here we go. Without further ado, let's get started. At number 10, I got none other than the Jacksonville Jaguars quarterback Trevor Lawrence, coming off of a phenomenal year with the newly hired head coach Liam Cohen. He put up 4,214 yards, 32 pass touchdowns, 14 interceptions, 9 rushing touchdowns, only 5 fumbles. You know, it was awesome to see him resurge his career and will the Jags back into the playoffs, to the point where I was actually seeing a lot of people last year before the playoffs started picking Jacksonville to make it to the Super Bowl, and some of them were even picking them to win the Super Bowl. So, you know, this was definitely his best year as a starter, and it's not even close, in all honesty. This was definitely that generational, quote-unquote generational year that we saw from him, that we saw out of coming out of Clemson. He was laser accurate this year. He was on point. He was winning games. He was beating good teams. He even beat my Denver Broncos. You know, it was a good showing from him this year, and I think I'm very excited to see what'll happen next year. Hopefully not at the expense of my Denver Broncos again, but yeah, obviously, you know, a great year, and I think it can only go up from here. Next up, number 9, we have none other than Justin Herbert. Justin Herbert for the Los Angeles Chargers. We're going to have to see what they do in free agency and what kind of moves that they make. And obviously they're going to have to make some upgrades at the offensive line position. But even with all the injuries that they sustained, he still had 3,800 pass yards, 26 pass touchdowns, 13 interceptions. He willed the Chargers to a playoff showing, although it wasn't much of a showing if you ask me. But, you know, he still had a hell of a year. 17 games played. He broke his hand and still played through it, and he still played quite well throughout that injury. So, you know, this was a disappointing end to the year for him, and I honestly think next year will be a make or break move, or a make or break year for him. If he and the Chargers do not get at least one playoff victory, you know, there's going to be some questions being asked, and people have already started to ask those questions. But right now, it's totally unacceptable that he's in year 6. He hasn't won a single playoff game yet, including one where he was up 27-0. You know, people want to say that he's top 5. Well, right now, I don't have him at top 5 right now. So if you can win a playoff game, if you can show me that you can do it in the playoffs, then at that point, maybe I will think about flirting with the top 5 for Justin Herbert. For right now, I am not putting him at the number, or I'm not putting him anywhere close to the top 5. So number 9, I'm being generous with this number 9 too, because there's a lot of other quarterbacks I kind of fought with myself. I thought maybe we put Trevor Lawrence above him, or maybe we put Brock Purdy there. No, I'll give it to Justin Herbert. You know, I'm not that much of a hater. You know, I'll hate here and there, but I'm not that much of a hater, contrary to popular beliefs. At number 9, I think Justin Herbert fits the mold quite well. At number 8, we have none other than the hometown hero, Mr. Bo Nix. Give me Bo Nix at the number 8 position, and I know this is going to be crazy because not a lot of you have Bo Nix in your top 15, but if you look at the numbers, the stats are there. He played 18 total games, 4,200 pass yards, 28 pass touchdowns, 12 interceptions, 385 rush yards, 5 touchdowns. So it's there. But what I'm thinking, what my thought process is for Bo Nix being top 10 and even being above a couple of guys in the top 10 is how clutch he is. That is not a factor that you can just teach somebody. This is something that you are born with, and he's got it. He's got that it factor. He has 6 or 7, just from last year alone, 6 or 7 different game-winning or game-tying drives in the fourth quarter or overtime. He's got a playoff victory over the Buffalo Bills, over Josh Allen, you know, put up 33 points in the divisional round of the playoffs. You know, it's like what can you say about this guy that he hasn't already done besides, you know, obviously win an MVP or win a Super Bowl, you know? So this guy, he's a winner. He won 14 games last year. He took his team to the playoffs, and he won. He won in the playoffs too. Obviously, you know, there was a heartbreaking injury But as you'll see coming up later on, I do not count injuries a part of my rankings, especially since it happened near the end of the season and it didn't really affect his play much at all. So in 2026, there is not a lot of quarterbacks that I would like above Bo Nix, except for the next 7 people that I'm going to name. Now, these next 7 people, it doesn't mean that they are going to be 100% better than Bo Nix. It just means these guys have had better careers and have had more chances to prove it, or just more chances where they were playing at a more dominant level than Bo Nix. It doesn't necessarily mean that they're ultimately better or that they will be better next year. It just means that they've shown me more of a dominant play style from them over Bo Nix. Obviously, I think Bo Nix can definitely climb into the top 5, and I think that'll be my Bring the Sink hot take for episode 17, is that Bo Nix by the end of next year will be a top 5 quarterback. But as of right now, I can't have him sniff in the top 5. Right now, I got him perfectly placed at number 8. At number 7, though, gosh, you guys are going to think I've lost my mind. At number 7, I got none other than Dak Prescott, man. Give me Dak, man. This guy, year after year, he just doesn't, man. And, obviously he gets injured, but last year he stayed healthy for majority, if not all, of the season. And last year, if it wasn't for Dak, the Cowboys would have had the number 1 overall pick. That Dak was literally willing them to victory every single year, or every single week. It was kind of sad seeing how much he had to do on the offensive side of the ball, and how little help he got on the defensive side of the ball, even after all those trades that occurred. Now, he had 67% completion percentage, over 4,500 pass yards, 30 touchdowns, 10 interceptions, 177 rush yards, 2 rushing touchdowns. Honestly, if you had Dak in fantasy, like, you were eating good, man. Like, Dak was putting up like 25 to 30 points on fantasy every single week. Now, fantasy is not what I'm ranking here, but obviously, Dak, last year he showed me something, man. Last year he showed me that this was his most confident year ever. And now that now I don't like to get people's business out on there, but I'm a podcaster, and I just received word that he is breaking up with his fiance and they're canceling the wedding. So I think he's going to be even more locked in than he was last year. This is going to be a scary year, some scary hours for Dak Prescott and the Dallas Cowboys. I'm telling you right now, there's another Bring the Sink hot take of episode 17. Watch out for Dak Prescott. I think Dak Prescott is going to be an MVP candidate next year because of how locked in and how confident he's going to be next year, especially if they can get him some help, man. If they can win some ball games on the defensive side of the ball, watch out for the Dallas Cowboys. Now, I'm not saying they're going to do anything in the playoffs. That's not what I said. I just said, watch out for Dak Prescott, man. This guy, he's found his rhythm. He's found his flow state. Now, moving on. Number 6, we got Drake May. Now, I told you guys, I'm not that much of a hater, but Drake May, he had a hell of a year, man, and he came up second in MVP voting. He was so close. I think he was only he was only 1 first place vote away from getting the MVP trophy last year for the regular season, and honestly, I can understand why. He had a hell of a year, man. It was awesome. He had over 5,000 passing yards last year, 37 pass touchdowns, 12 interceptions. He threw one of the prettiest deep balls that I think I've ever seen out of any quarterback over the last few years. He's definitely looking like one of the best, if not the best, from that 2024 rookie draft class, that stacked rookie quarterback draft class from 2024. He had over 600 rushing yards, 5 rushing touchdowns. He did have a lot of fumbles, though. 15 fumbles is quite a lot. That's more than the next few guys combined, but it was the fumbling issue was his major flaw, and it didn't really affect him all that much because they went 14-3 and he took his team to the Super Bowl. Now, do I believe they should have gone to the Super Bowl last year? No, absolutely not. They had a cupcake schedule. They had a cupcake playoff schedule to the Super Bowl, facing off against the Chargers, who pretty much had preschoolers playing at the O-line position. Then the next week they had CJ Stroud and the Texans, who legitimately forgot how to play football that week. And then in the AFC Championship game, they went to Denver. Now, Denver is a hard place to play. I'll give you that. However, they didn't have to play against a real quarterback. They had to play against Jarrett Stidham, of all guys, a backup quarterback in the AFC Championship. It was one of the worst AFC Championship games I think I've ever watched in my entire life. But with that being said, it shoulda, woulda, coulda. And he took his team, he took Mike Vrabel and the New England Patriots and Josh McDaniels to the Super Bowl, and I have to respect that. So I have to assume, as a pattern recognizer, that the Patriots are only going to get better from there, and that includes Drake May. So 14-3 Super Bowl runner-up season, AFC East championship in a division that has Josh Allen in it. You know, I got to give credit where credit's due. So number 6, give me Drake May. I would have him higher, but I want to see more out of him for me to put him in the top 5. But for right now, give me Drake May at number 6. Number 5, I got Joe Burrow. Joe Burrow, he didn't really do much last year, but he's done it over his entire career to the point where I have faith in Joe Burrow that he can come back and do it. You know, obviously, if I list off of his stats, it's not really going to say much because he didn't play a lot of games last year. He was injured for most of the season. But like I said, I don't take account for injuries when I'm ranking quarterbacks that I would like to roll with on my team going into the 2026 season. And honestly, this guy, he took the Cincinnati Bengals in 2021 to the Super Bowl. If you can take that franchise with that ownership group to the Super Bowl, you're going to be top 5 for pretty much your entire life. You know what I mean? So obviously there wasn't a whole lot of drop off when he was actually playing. You know, there was a few bad games, but that's another one where it's like, I understand, you know, you're not really getting help on your O-line. You have awesome wide receivers. You have a good running back, but you don't have a shred of an O-line. You don't have a hint of a defense, you know, so if the Bengals can figure this out, if the Bengals can figure out how to help him, then hopefully he won't have to retire early like Andrew Luck, and then we can actually see Joe Burrow playing at his best, because Joe Burrow, when he's playing at his best, when he's getting protected, and he can actually have the opportunity to play at his best, he is one of the most dangerous men that you can see on the other side of that football field. He is a scary guy, man. And this guy, nothing phases him. He is 100% confident, and that's leadership right there. That's something that you want out of your quarterback. So that's why he's in my number 5 position right now. Going up to number 4, we got none other than Patrick Mahomes, 3-time Super Bowl winning Patrick Mahomes. Patrick, the baby goat Mahomes at number 4. Obviously, these last few years, he has not done all that well. But at the end of the day, he's still Patrick Mahomes. He still has 3 Super Bowl championships. And even if the quality of play goes downhill to the point where you're putting up Russell Wilson numbers, you're still Patrick Mahomes. You still cause fear in the opposing team's hearts and the opposing team's eyes. You know, you still cause anxiety and panic amongst any opposing fan that's watching you play against their own team. And whenever a team beats you, this is how you know you're the man. It's like whenever a team beats you, they celebrate like they just won the Super Bowl. That's how you know you're the man. And that's exactly what Patrick Mahomes is. Anytime a team beats Patrick Mahomes, anytime a team beats the Chiefs, it's like they celebrate like they won the Super Bowl. Now, obviously, towards the end of last year, that wasn't necessarily the case, because that's when we knew that the Chiefs were going to have a losing record. And that was pre-Mahomes injury, of course, too. Post-Mahomes injury, it was, you know, it's like they're just a lottery team at that point. But at that point where I just remember at the beginning of the season where I think it was the Jacksonville Jaguars, they beat the Chiefs on Monday Night Football in Jacksonville, and they were celebrating like they had just won, you know, the conference championship game or something. Like, usually I could have sworn they should have had like confetti going down or something. Like, it was crazy. It was definitely one of their most prolific wins of the season, the Jaguars, of course. So honestly, whenever you strike fear into a man's heart like that, and you have 3 Super Bowl championships, Super Bowl rings, you know, at that point, you know, I still have to give you respect where it's due, even when you had a fall off from grace from your I don't even want to say prime because I still believe that Patrick Mahomes is still in his prime, but like his like prime squared, I guess, like that 2018 to 2020 run that he had where, he was tossing like 50 touchdowns in a season and he was winning MVPs and stuff like that. He's not playing necessarily at an MVP level these last couple of years, but obviously, even when you can not play at an MVP level and still take your team to the Super Bowl, I'm talking about 2024, at that point, it's like, man, this guy is a dangerous guy. Like, this guy is just playing football for fun. He's not even, he doesn't even take it serious anymore because he just knows whenever he can lock in, he'll just make it to a Super Bowl for the 6th, 7th, 8th time in a row, So that's why I got Patrick Mahomes at number 4 and not any higher because he just hasn't performed over the last couple of years that well and that dominative, I should say. At number 3, I know you guys are wondering, since I had Joe Burrow at number 5 and Patrick Mahomes at number 4, you're like, who the hell is in this guy's top 3 right now? Well, I'll tell you. At number 3, I got Lamar Jackson. And that should be no surprise to anybody. Obviously, he kind of had an off year last year. He was injured for majority of the year, and even when he came back, he was still playing injured. At least there was no confirmation that he was playing injured, but he just looked like he was injured. He was a lot slower. There were some advanced stats showing that he was not running as fast as he usually does. But he still had 2,500 pass yards, 350 rush yards, 21 pass touchdowns. He was very efficient, 63% completion percentage. And this guy, multiple time MVP winner. I would like to see more out of him in the playoffs. Obviously, the Ravens didn't make the playoffs this year, but they're coming in. They fired their coach. They got Jesse Minter as their new head coach, and not only that, but a couple of days ago we got hit with a nuclear, and I mean a nuclear trade, sending 2 first-round picks to the Las Vegas Raiders in exchange for Max Crosby. And honestly, I got onto my knees and I was thanking the Lord, man, because I could not stand having Max Crosby in my division. That guy is such a game wrecker. And now the Ravens, I think, will be very scary. And I think if they remain healthy and they can get some help at that wide receiver position, I think they could definitely be Super Bowl contenders. So, with this new addition of Max Crosby, which, I know it's been a while since I last released an episode. I think I counted it was like 8 days or 10 days or something like that. So obviously we didn't get to talk about this Max Crosby trade, but I'm talking about it right now. And I think that will definitely shift with the coaching change and everything. Jesse Minter, I think, is going to be a great head coach. Now they got Max Crosby at the helm as an edge rusher. They haven't even really had great edge rushers in Baltimore during Lamar's time, but now that they got that help on defense, him, Kyle Hamilton, they got a bunch of young guys on that defensive side of the ball. They still got Derrick Henry. This is going to be a dangerous team to watch out for, man. And I know I'm talking about quarterbacks, but anytime a multiple-time MVP winning quarterback gets help like this, watch out, man. When I actually talk about when the time comes and I'll be discussing my Super Bowl prediction for the 2026 NFL season, I will be hard-pressed not to pick Baltimore from the AFC side. It'll either be Denver or Baltimore, depending on how the draft goes for each team, how the rest of free agency and the rest of trades go. But, if these guys can stack the deck some more, or if the Broncos can stack the deck some more, that's who I'm going to be picking for my AFC representative for the 2026 Super Bowl. But I'm getting ahead of myself. At number 2, we got none other than Mr. Matt Stafford. And I know that this is something new to hear, something other than the norm of like the top 4 being, locked in place with like that whole Lamar, Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes, Joe Burrow. But with the kind of year that Matt Stafford had last year, winning an MVP and almost getting, if he didn't run into that juggernaut of a Seahawks team, I do believe that they would have won the Super Bowl last year, the Rams. So anytime you have an MVP and a Super Bowl winner, at that point in time, it's like, how can you discredit How can you discredit what he's done, what he's accomplished? And now he's got weapons too, man. He's got Devontae Adams. He's got Puka Nacua. He's got Kyron Williams. He's got that three-headed monster at tight end. You know, you can pick and plug any of those tight ends in there, and they're gonna do their job. They're gonna run. You know, they got a great offensive line. So how can I not pick Matt Stafford as one of the best quarterbacks in the league right now, especially going into this 2026 season when he's hopefully going to be even more healthy than he was last year. Last year he had a nagging back injury, but, you know, last year he was the MVP even with a nagging back injury, and he's got Sean McVay at the helm. You know, it's truly phenomenal what he accomplished last year. He had over 5,600 pass yards, 52 pass touchdowns. Now, obviously, all of these stats include the playoffs. 52 pass touchdowns, only 9 interceptions. You know, it's just he took care of the football. He was very efficient. He had a good completion percentage. It's just, this guy does everything that you want out of a quarterback. He's not necessarily all that mobile. He only had 16 rush yards, but he won ball games. He doesn't need to be mobile. He's a tough SOB. Even when he does get injured, he plays through it. You know, he knows that none of us want to see Jimmy G out on the field. So, you know, he plays through those injuries, and, you know, he throws such a pretty ball, man. Like, he just rips that thing. And I'm so glad that he won MVP, because I truly, truly believe that he deserved that MVP trophy. So I'm so glad that he won it, and it's going to be even scarier next year. Now, I know he's getting into the end of his career. He's in year 17. I think he'll be entering into year 18, but I truly believe that the Rams could continue to be the NFC representative of the Super Bowl next year and a couple of years from now too, if he can remain healthy and he can stay playing at a high level, especially with the way that Sean McVay has him playing. Now, a lot of people talk about that trade between the Lions and the Rams, in which the Lions sent over Matt Stafford for Jared Goff, and everybody's like, no, both teams won that trade. You know, the Lions, they're winning their division. They're going to the playoffs every year now. You know, like they're looking good. No, that's not even close, man. The Rams won this trade 1,000%. They got a Super Bowl out of it. They got an MVP out of it. You know, I don't care. You know, they won this trade, and it's just not even close. I mean, obviously, what Jared Goff has done for the city of Detroit and given them hope, you know, that's shout out to Jared Goff. And I almost put him in this top 10 list as well, near either 10. But I was like, I was wrestling with myself whether or not to put Trevor Lawrence or Jared Goff there, and I ultimately ended up choosing Trevor Lawrence. But anyways, this is not a Jared Goff subsection of the podcast. This is Matt Stafford, and we're giving Matt Stafford his flowers. Now, you heard me say it a little earlier, so there should be no surprise, but at number 1, I still got Josh Allen as my quarterback going into 2026. Now, they also completed a trade of their own, the Buffalo Bills did, with DJ Moore, and they finally gave some help to poor Josh Allen, man. I couldn't believe it. They finally gave this guy a decent wide receiver 1, and I think it's going to be very scary, especially with how well he played last year without any resemblance of a wide receiver 1, 2, or 3. You know, there was a bunch of practice squad guys just running routes out there, and he just kind of had to pick his own poison every now and then. It's literally him and James Cook against the world. But now he's got DJ Moore and James Cook and a good offensive line. So this is going to be scary hours, and they're gonna have a new head coach too. So hopefully Joe Brady can pick up where they left off and actually start winning some playoff games. Hopefully not at the Broncos' expense, but you know, as long as Josh Allen is the quarterback of the Buffalo Bills will continue to be Super Bowl contenders. I do not care one way or another. Now, even in an off year for Josh Allen still had a phenomenal season. Almost 70% completion percentage, 4,200 passing yards, 29 pass touchdowns, 12 interceptions, 678 rushing yards, and 16 rushing touchdowns. This guy was an animal, a beast. No matter if you're playing regular football or if you're playing fantasy football, this guy is your QB1, and he will continue to be QB1 until proven otherwise. Anyways, thank you guys so much. This has been Bring the Sink. I also recorded this during the day when I'm fasting, no food or water, and this was kind of a challenge, but also it was cool because I was able to kind of lock in some more and I didn't have to think about like food or water or anything like that. So that was pretty cool. But anyways, hopefully you guys didn't notice a difference in quality, or hopefully if there was, then it was an increase in quality and not a decrease. But anyways, this has been Bring the Sink. I'm your host, The Hammer. Thank you guys so much for listening to episode 17. Please follow us on TikTok and Instagram at Bring the Sink Pod. Again, this is your host, The Hammer, logging off. Peace.